So this presentation is about good and bad photos, and so you can learn from successes and mistakes, and this was put together by a photography teacher named Michelle Lynn. So first of all, um, most people like pets, right? I love my pets and I like to take pictures of them. But usually when you take a picture of a pet, you're doing it kind of quickly and you just kind of take a quick snapshot, right? So the difference between good photography and bad photography sometimes is about thinking. Did you think about the composition? Did you think about the lighting? Did you think about where things are? And is there clutter in the background? A lot of times the answer is no when you're trying to take a quick picture. And so snapshots a lot of times are considered bad photos. So like she says here in this picture, it's a really cute dog, but there are all kinds of cluttered things in the background. Since photos are flat, it flattens out the room and it almost looks like this black thing is sitting on the dog's head and it's hard to tell kind of what's going on. So that's what makes this a bad photo. Not necessarily that it's a bad picture, but it's a good snapshot. Snapshots are not automatically good photography. Okay, so this one, it says it's good and bad. This one is good because it has like a frame around, it kind of has a frame. It has some diagonal leading lines through the picture. It has a focal point, which is the cat, who's not exactly centered perfectly. And we'll learn about composition next week. But compositionally, this one is a better picture, but it's not great because it looks like this thing is could be like the cat could be hanging from it, or it could be growing out of its head or something. So that makes it not necessarily the greatest. All right. So again, two good pictures, typical pictures that people might take, right? But the reason this one is not the greatest or considered bad is not because of the lighting. The lighting's fine, but it's mostly because of the what they're trying to take a picture of is right in the center. And I know that, but when I look at this picture, my eye bounces around all these pumpkins. It goes to this fence. It goes to this building back here. It goes to everywhere else around, but not to the subject that they were trying to take a picture of. If you fill the frame a little more, like if you took a closer up picture of the little boy and had him facing the camera and kind of blurred the background a little more so it was less distracting, that could make a better picture. So that's one reason why this portrait is a better picture over here on the right. So these people are kind of stacked. They make like a triangular shape in the picture from the bottom. They don't have limbs cut off really. The background is nice and blurred, so it's not distracting. And so that makes a good photo. Okay, so selfies. Selfies are also snapshots. So the one on the left there of the three girls, those, not necessarily that it's a bad picture, because it's a good picture of the people, right? They're looking okay, but the backlighting is bad. You see how the background is really bright, kind of giving them like a halo effect around their heads. So that's not great. So the photo on the right here is a great family portrait because of the arrangement and all of the artifacts that reflect their nationality. The photograph is very meaningful. However, avoid taking photos where people are making hand gestures. So there is somebody making a hand gesture in it, which makes it not such a great photo, makes it more of a snapshot. But they have all the people are in it. No body parts are cut off on the sides. There's not a lot of distracting stuff in the background. So all the lighting is good. So all of those things make it a good picture. All right, so again, we have some couple okay pictures, probably taken just kind of quickly. But the reason this one is not so good is because there's a lot of distracting things, cars and buildings that take away from the subject. So the subject of this picture is supposed to be the person, right? It's supposed to be a portrait and maybe with the Christmassy effects in the background. But because of the way it's taken, it's kind of far away. and the background is not blurred. It makes it not as good of a picture. Also, the lighting is not the best. It's kind of bright in the sky, and the person is kind of dark. But what makes this dog picture even worse is that is the back. My eyes. I don't know about you, but my eyes go automatically to this open window, not the dog, right? Because they're trying to take a picture of their dog on the table. But what I see is this open window because our eyes are drawn to the brightest part of the picture. And because it's a bright background in a dark room, it makes it a bad lighting and not great composition. Also, the dog is right in the center of the picture, which is not good compositionally. So the photo on the left here is a very good creative picture. It's got good lighting. It's creative. It's got they're shooting the picture through something. The only kind of bad thing about it is because of the lighting, it's creating this like halo effect around the edges of this thing. We want to try to avoid that if we can, but it is a good picture. The reason this other picture is not good is because, first of all, the lighting, of course, the background is brighter than the foreground here, and we can't really see. So if they're trying to take a picture of this person, it would be better if they were closer to the person, so they could get better details of the person, make it more like a portrait, and um, take out some of the distracting features like the cars or blur the background a little more. That would make it a better picture. And obviously, we would want to crop this to make it not so the person is not directly in the center, but definitely needs to be closer. All right, so both of these pictures have some great things about them. They're both beautiful places, right? They look like they were taken on a really nice day, beautiful weather, nice backgrounds. But what makes one better than the other is this picture of the portrait. They did a good job not cutting off their legs, right? They're close to the people, but not too close. And but what's wrong with it is she is in a cliche pose. So you don't want to be posing for the camera in some kind of cliche way like that. He's wearing a hat which shades his face, makes it hard to see him. So those are the really the worst things about this picture. This other picture is really nice because it has leading lines. So if you've ever taken drawing or other art classes, you may have heard the term one point perspective, right? So this picture is a good example. All of these lines, the hedges, the street, everything points back to this one point in the picture. The only thing that could make this picture even better is if it had a better focal point. We can't really see what's back there, but if there was some sort of monument or a bigger thing or a person standing here that we could see, that becomes the focal point of the picture, that would make this even better. All right, so here are a couple typical photos. I see pictures like this from this class quite a bit, both of these things. So the photo on the right of my left, the bad one, the photo on right there is difficult to see the animal, right? The camera focused on the bars and not the animal. So the animal's blurry and all we see are the bars. So that makes it kind of a bad photo because we can't really see what the intended subject was. Also, it's a snapshot because it's taken quickly, not a lot of thought put into what they were trying to do, what the story is there. But on the other hand, this good one, this photo on my right is interesting. It is a chandelier looking from the floor straight up at the light fixture, and the light and shadows really create extra pattern and extra interest in this picture. So the way it's cropped, the way everything's working with that really makes that for an interesting and better picture. So here are a couple more animal examples. Um, the dogs on the left here, the dogs themselves, this would be a really great photo. It's really kind of interesting the way the dogs, their relationship to each other there in the picture. But what makes this bad is you see how this bench is is at an angle, almost like a slide. Looks like the dogs could be sliding down it at any moment. Anytime you have something that's supposed to be horizontal, make sure it is horizontal in your picture and not diagonal, or else that's going to make it off balance and bad compositionally. Also, the background could be more blurred to create less distraction in the background and make the dogs more of the actual subject and to tell a story. So that's what makes this picture a good picture. So this would be considered really close to abstract, right? Because we're really close to something. Can you guys tell what that is here on the right?
Is it a horse?
Yeah, so it is a horse, and we can tell that because of some clues, like the the eye. It's got a real great focus on the eye and the texture of the hair. And then look at the background. It's got this beautiful blur. And when you get this depth of field blur like this is actually called bokeh. When things start turning into like little circles in the background, that's called a bokeh effect. And that makes a really nice, pleasing background. And when something is abstracted like this, where you take a really close picture, sometimes that adds interest. It draws people's eyes to it because they look at it and they're like, what is that? Oh yeah, and then they have to figure out what it is. So it's kind of adds interest to your photography. All right, so another couple examples here. On my left here, picture of a dandelion, right? It's bullseyed right in the center. That's the only thing that makes this one look bad to me, because I like how the background is blurred, but the dandelion is real in focus and you can really see a lot of the detailed texture on that versus the soft texture in the background. But I think if they would crop this differently, that would actually become a better picture. So this one that says it's a good photo is really nice compositionally. It's using the rule of thirds, which we'll learn about next week. It's using reflection, and it's really nicely lit and has a lot of great things going on for it. So two pictures of the same boy on a beach. This says that the picture on the left is backlit. So you see how the boy is in a shadow. It's like it's in shadow, but it's not quite a silhouette picture. A silhouette picture would be where the background is really bright and the boy would be completely dark, like in a shadow, and all you would see is his outline. That makes a more interesting, good picture. But this is just kind of an in between, and it looks like bad lighting. And so that's what really is kind of off about this. Also, you see this wave up in the top right corner. It's kind of in there and kind of not, and just making a distraction in the picture. Because that kind of a distraction will draw people's eyes up to that corner, and that's not even what you're trying to take a picture of, right? So you want to try to avoid some of those things. But this picture on the right, where he's laying on the sand, is a better picture. Compositionally, it would be better if he didn't have his arm cut off here and maybe backed up just a little bit. But this is a better picture. It's close up, it's good lighting. It kind of draws you through the picture. There's like a diagonal kind of thing happening through the picture. So that makes it a better picture. All right, so now I want to hear from you guys. These pictures are labeled bad and good. I want you to turn your mic on and just tell me at least one thing that makes the picture bad or good.
Well, for the good one, it's like focused in on your shoes. Like you know what you're supposed to be looking at.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. Even though we're cropping off the people aren't really the subject of the picture, are they? The shoes kind of are. So their legs bring, they make lines from the edges of the picture down toward the center. And so you really know what you're supposed to be looking at. Everything's pointing to the center of the picture. That's a really good point. Anything else?
For the bad one, there's a hill that's kind of slanted, so it makes the picture look kind of slanted.
Yeah, it does.
The bad one, nothing's really centered, so you're really just kind of looking everywhere. There's a cone in the background, a cone in the front, there's a dog. You're out in the wilderness, you don't really know what to look at.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. You don't know what to look at. So what is the focal point in this picture? We don't know because there's so much going on. So if you got rid of some of those distractions, if you either blurred the background or moved the cones out of the way, then you would kind of know that you're supposed to look at the dog, right? That's a good point. So you guys had some really good ideas. Let's try another set of pictures, and I want to hear what you have to say. What makes this good picture good?
The subject takes up the whole frame.
Yeah, it is. That's true. What else about it?
It's not too distracting.
Yeah, the background is not distracting. You know what to look at, right? Yeah, so the lighting's good. You know what to look at. It's got a focal point. Background's not distracting. You can tell they put some thought into the picture. So what about this bad picture? What makes this bad? Why do you think we say this is a bad picture?
It's not focused or centered.
Right. It's not focused or centered. I don't know about you, but it really bugs me that the edge of the plate is cut off. It also bugs me that the apple up here in the top right corner is not really in the picture or out of the picture. It's just kind of there, and that's really distracting. What else do you guys think?
It doesn't look like they spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Right. So it makes it a snapshot, doesn't it? So it's just kind of a real quick picture of somebody's, whatever that is, a strawberry shortcake or something right before they eat it. And that's the kind of pictures that there's thousands and thousands of in the world right now. And to really separate yourself from someone who just takes snapshots all the time into someone who takes good pictures is some thinking. You're going to have to think about it a little bit. Okay, so that's the biggest point I want you to get out of this whole lesson. So yeah, thank you guys for participating.